archetypal Ephesians 5 woman. You know, she's very submissive, she does her thing, and she's not exposed. You know, the thing with the feminine criminality is that it kind of comes through from the urban setup, that the men who are involved in criminality easily rub shoulders with the women in the urban setters. And sometimes she's not even in the same family. It's just the fact that she lives in the same neighborhood. She sees these things going down, and most of the times they're domesticated, they're at home. So they see these guys come back, they're living well, but they're not working. So the women kind of socialize themselves into criminality. But in the rural setup, there's what we call primary socialization. Everybody knows the other. And so we have these very close-knit groups where if you were to do anything wayward, people would call you out immediately. And most likely your husband or your father is the one who will be told, hey, your daughter is being funny. So the women in the rural areas are still quite clean. And apart from that, women in the rural areas are more spiritually inclined. Yeah, they take church business very seriously. They're always very, cautious, so to speak. But here in the urban centers, women are on their own, they do their thing. And these days, if you look at the social scenario, women are beginning to go out more. They go to the clubs, you find them sitting on their own. And long ago, people would ask questions. These days, it's normal. They get themselves into a group of 5, they go out there. So sometimes you're not just talking about criminality using a gun. There are criminal elements relating to, prostitution, relating to just dragging men and doing stuff with them, and, all sorts of things. And the urban woman is right in the mix. Yeah, so she's able to, contextualize very easily as opposed to the rural woman.
So as we wind up, do you think prison is the ultimate place of correctional facility?
For both men and women, I always say prison does not work, because prison actually hardens the person. And when you talk about rehabilitative orientations, prison would be a system that's functional if it would teach people the way out, the alternative. Kenyan prisons, African prisons, actually even out there, it's rare to find those programs. You get them after prison. Prison itself is like a punishment. Yeah, so society has a way of saying you did wrong, and so we are putting you here, and for the 10 years that you're here, maybe we'll teach you how to make dresses or something. But that's not rehabilitating the person. The mind hardens, because when you're in there, you're feeling like you're being left out, things are happening without you, and society is punishing you. Sometimes, and again, like somebody did a study in Pennsylvania and found out that out of 3,800 inmates, I think 30%, yes, were innocent. They were there by mistake, the judicial mistakes, or somebody pointed them out, or implication. And so the guys who go in there and they're innocent, they come out worse than they were before. This is specifically more difficult for women, because like when you go to Langata, again, the Department of Sociology, we did a study there in 2009, and the women there are very bitter about being at Langata. Yeah, not that they are mistreated by the prison warders, just the fact of being in there. And she's asking you, what's happening to my child, what's happening to my family. Men will survive. They'll be like, oh, my wife is taking care of the kids, I'm okay. And a lot of times, yes. I say, unless a woman is engaged in capital crime, capital offenses, things like murder, robbery with violence, the other ones, the other thing we found out in 2009 in Langata is that most of the women who are in there, the offenses are usually very petty. And she's there for 6 months, for a year, and it's something so small, like she was working for someone, she stole something. Or maybe the baby fell down and died or something. They're very, very misdemeaning offenses, so to speak. And so you find these women feeling more like victims than, targets of correction. And a lot of times when women go through that, women are not like men. Women soak in these feelings and they soak in that sufferings, and she holds it there. And then when she gets out, she's looking for a way of saying, okay, so this is what you did to me. I shall make back. I shall pay back. I shall do this. But men will get out and probably still continue being criminal and get arrested again, and stuff. And the other thing that we found out is that the women who are incarcerated at Langata, they became very friendly. They know each other. They form networks while they're in there. They even had jammers inside there. So you can imagine when they get out, they self-rehabilitate. Prison is not helping them. Prison actually maybe is just a hiatus. There was a particular woman I remember who had done something in the bank, and it was not her mistake. The guys kind of slithered their way out, and she was left with the tail to hold. And she was jailed for 4 years. And what she was going through mentally, because she had a 6-month-old baby, and what she was going through mentally, you cannot even fathom. So she was like, okay, when I get out, where do I start? Because she's a banker. The minute you're in a prison, you can't get a job in the financial sector. So she has to think of an alternative. Now, those are some of the people who might eventually become criminal or become just deviant or they become isolated. And that's not good for us. So the prison for women, I don't think it works. If you ask me my genuine opinion.
So how should they be dealt with?
I think the community factor in handling women and the social services for government, welfare services like they have in France, work perfectly. Because like if you go to the outskirts of Paris, women are given community service to do for punishment. They are told, okay, you're going to serve here for a month, clean up this dormitory, do stuff, and we are going to supervise your movements. You can't do this. You still feel like you're being punished, but you have your life going on. But when you take her and lock her up at Langata with hard labor or whatever she's doing there, you know, for women, family is valuable, and motherhood and the instincts are always there with them. So you can imagine when you sever her and remove her from that system, she gets very bitter. Yeah, so the prison actually works the reverse for women. Sometimes, other than community support, you're thinking of church, you're thinking of things like the NGO rehabilitation systems. Like we have a group in Northeastern that looks for women whose husbands have been killed either through terror or through criminal behavior. And instead of these women becoming bitter and being idolized into Islamic whatever extremism, they are rehabilitated very quickly by the community and they feel like we still belong even though our husbands were killed. If we could replicate that in the rest of the country, I think it would be good. So churches, they're not doing enough, especially in regard to women. Churches are not doing enough. They should actually come out and say, hey, the women population in this, you know, even just a simple census, you know, the number of women who are widowed naturally are like this. The ones who are widowed by criminality are like this. The ones who are widowed by violence at home, you know, then we'll be able to target and say, let's help these ones like this. But prison, nah.
So the other day